We finally made it, y'all. It is game week, so we're going to dive into a whole bunch of that stuff here on the Sooner or Later Sports Show, a Such and Such production. That's Coop. I'm Jay. Thanks for pulling up here on the YouTube channel and listening wherever podcasts are downloaded and listened to while you're here. Please wipe your feet, like, subscribe, rate, review, give us 5 stars. You don't think we deserve it? Go ahead and give us 5 anyway, and gift it. So, on today's episode of the Sooner or Later Sports Show, me and Coop got a lot of stuff to talk about, like 9-game conference schedule. And is Oklahoma about to get screwed again? Who do we think the 3 teams will be? We've got ideas. We're also going to say who we want. We'll wrap up everything, put a bow on it, and talk about what boldest predictions possible for game week. We're going to keep the tradition going. Coop, happy Sunday, my boy. How you doing?
It is, it's game week. That brings happiness to my soul. We had some football, some turnover-laden Big 12 football over in the motherland. And so that obviously gets you a little going. Every single commercial that had the Irish accent, I just felt it in my innards. And so, but Jay, we also have the sun, and I told you guys when the sun hits me, that means it's time for football in Oklahoma. And so we are millimeters away, and so that's got your boy excited.
Yeah, we are right there at that point. And I like that you point that out, that the sun is now hitting your hand. So as you put your hand up there by the microphone, after a while, you're going to see a nice little like tiger stripe right down the middle of Coop's face, because the sun's going to be just blasting him right in the grill. Because, yes, as he said, when we hit this point, guess what, y'all? It's football time. I posted it yesterday. We are exactly Jaden Gibson weeks away from Sooner football. We're at the 6-day mark. The old, actually, this will be Tory Blaylock's number now, because he is number 6. So we're on the Tory Blaylock days away from Sooner football. College football, like you said, started yesterday. We'll talk about that as well. We'll definitely dive into our reactions from opening weekend at the end of the show. So for you all, wow, Boomer 129, the go to the tight tees. No, this shirt is not actually okay. It's tight, but that's not the point. Stop being a hater, man. All your life, I love you, dog. Appreciate that. Everybody in the chat, thank y'all for joining us per the usual. It's gonna be a fun episode, because we've got to dive into the big topics of the day, the big topics of the weekend. My favorite thing is when you get that Friday night news dump, Coop. You get that news dump to where it's like hidden for the entire weekend, except for the one thing that a lot of people fail to realize is in the YouTube era, we gonna throw some content out like right after that news drop. Like you're not gonna be able to hide this mess from us. So we're gonna open up and talk about the 9-game SEC schedule. So Paul, aka Commissioner Greg Sankey and the SEC made the announcement that the SEC will be moving into 9-game conference schedule in 2026, and these are some of the components that go with it. They will continue with single standings, non-divisional structure. I'll talk about that in a second. Each school will play 3 annual opponents focused on maintaining many traditional rivalries. We already knew this was going to come. This was talked about back before Oklahoma and Texas joined the SEC. Each team's remaining 6 games will rotate among the remaining conference schools, which is a good thing because the 16 teams, it'll be very easy to do that. Each team will face every other SEC program at least once every 2 years, and every opponent home and away in 4 years. Now, I want to read off what the commissioner had to say first, Coop, before I get your initial reaction. And then we're going to break down each line of this, because I think it's something that's worth talking about. But Commish came out here. Paul said, adding a 9th SEC game underscores our university's commitment to delivering the most competitive football schedule in the nation. This format protects rivalries, increases competitive balance, and paired with our requirement to play an additional power opponent, ensuring SEC teams are well prepared to compete and succeed in college football playoffs. What was your initial reaction to this, Coop? And then I want to add some color to it after you finish.
You knew this was coming. like you said earlier, this was something that the conversation was around, right after Texas and Oklahoma started making their way in. You've heard what is a gentle way of putting it? You've heard the concerns from around the other conferences. No shade to the fact that Alabama is always going to play a big boy first game, first week of the season, first one or two, Wisconsin, Florida State, etc. Texas has Ohio State, Oklahoma's got Michigan, LSU's going up against Clemson. But you know what? We schedule cupcakes, and so we knew that the rest of the world wanted to. What they really want to do, Jay, is not have the Citadel or Mercer or Appalachian Tech, in November. That's kind of like the big piece, but. This was, this was curiously placed, or I guess not curiously placed, but strategically placed when this announcement came out. This is about protecting and getting things ready for the next wave of how you do the playoffs. And every other conference, they were taking shots. They're going to think that they got the victory. Nothing happens in the SEC without really, really strategic calculation. And so this happened probably exactly when Greg Sankey wanted it to happen.
Exactly, and I knew that you were going to go that direction, which is why I want to add the color. So there was a CSC guidance dropped that basically said the way that they're now going to look at the college football playoffs, the strength of schedules, the metric is being changed. They're going to be paying attention in a different way. And because of that, to me, that's when the SEC got back to the table with ESPN and said, hey, guys, let's talk. Because if there's anything that I will tell you that I know is that we have said on numerous occasions, we will gladly play 9 games if ESPN ups the dollars. Our partners will have to pay us to do this. We're not going to do this. We ain't going to just do stuff just to do it. It's going to be some value behind that. And we knew that was a point of contention. The TV partners had said that they will be willing to do something. And we said, cool, what are we doing? And it just wasn't there when it made sense. Well, now that CSC guidance came out, the partners probably came to it and said, hey, all right, we'll meet your number. Are y'all willing to go this? And the coach and the ADs, presidents, and everything was like, all right, that's sufficient. So that's where we're here. This is why. And I mentioned that at the news dump on a Friday that they failed to realize, man, we got YouTubers nowadays running most of the television stuff. Like most of us is on y'all's TV right now. We're not tuning in to the ESPNs like they used to, the Fox Sports talk shows. Now, Monday they'll talk about this because they have to, because this is definitely the biggest story coming through the weekend outside of, Tommy Fleetwood winning in golf. But, yeah, this is important because now you're going to see massive changing in the scheduling with an increase in games. So let's go line by line, Coop, because my initial thought was, oh, y'all want to bury this. Y'all just didn't want nobody to really talk about this. Y'all want to keep this a little under the rug. This is why you did this on what we call the Friday news dump. Back in the day, if you dump something on a Friday night, it usually did not get talked about on Monday because games happen over the weekend. That makes it kind of fall further and further down the totem pole. That's why you do it. But first and foremost, the continued single standings non-divisional structure. I'm going to be honest, I don't really like that. But I did not want to. I wanted to go to a quad setup. I thought the quad setup would have been a lot more fun. Still with the single standing, but more like these 4 teams are going to face each other. Like, that's your group. That would have been a little bit more interesting. But the problem is, and it's funny, I was listening to Gabe and Teddy on the Oklahoma Breakdown, and I forgot who they mentioned that said this on the radio, on television recently, but there really isn't any teams in the SEC that has 3 opponents that we know that they're going to have to play, except for Texas. Texas is the only one that has it. A&M, us. They had a rivalry with Arkansas until, the conference is split. Arkansas went over to the SEC. So they have a historical one, but they technically got those 3. Oklahoma, we've got 1. Tennessee's got 2. Yeah, we got one. Texas. Tennessee's got two. LSU technically doesn't really have one. Like, they haven't built one. But to that point, I'm cool with the single standing. I want it to be more divisionary, but that's cool. The 3 games is the thing that matters the most, 3 annuals. So let's jump right into that, Coop. When you see and hear that they want us to do 3, who is 3 opponents that you want to have? Let me get your thoughts on that, because I haven't got your thoughts on that portion of it, besides on the social medias. I want to get it now that you've thought about it, Mo.
Yeah, you're going to have to. Obviously, Texas stays in for a bevy of reasons. Obviously, it's Oklahoma, Texas. You got the border situation. You got the state fair. That's one of the greatest rivalry, games every single year. Does not matter what team has what record. Yep. Traditionally, it's just a great game. There's a lot of hatred between the two. And, you go get in the middle of a lot of recruiting battles between the two. When you're the home team, you're going to have recruits coming in that want to see both teams. And so there's going to be Texas. I would say that, a lot of people, for proximity's sake, you look at either a Missouri or an Arkansas. One of those 2 teams are going to be in the contention for it just because of how close it is. And Gabe and Teddy brought up a really, really good point in the fact that, like, with this new, a setup in the SEC, or I guess just since we entered the SEC, there's no, like, road trips, right? It's not like there's a close, close area you can take a drive over to outside of the Cotton Bowl. So could you, from Tulsa, a 2-hour drive over Springdale, to, from Oklahoma City, about an hour drive. So, you could get over to you get over to Arkansas pretty easily. Kind of the same thing with Missouri. Columbia is a little bit more of a drive, but there's no really good drivable games. And so I see them putting in a lot of those things. Me personally, I think Gabe and Teddy were also right when they drop it before we do. We got to copy a lot of stuff they say, but
not really.
The November, the late end rivalry week game. If you just went for the sake of college football, bringing something back like in Nebraska, or if you just wanted the yelling to continue in the state, bringing back an Okie State, but LSU doesn't have a dance partner on that weekend. Neither do we. So I would love to see the end of the year LSU Oklahoma, and here's why. We owe that dumpster fire of a program some kickbacks from playing them in their backyard in the playoffs a couple different times. But I would really like to see the LSU be added back in there. Because I think that at the end of the year, you're going to have a good game. You're going to have 2 teams that are probably playing for positioning in the SEC and, maybe even the playoffs.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Yeah, Gabe Tate talked about this. Actually, I heard a few people talk about this. Actually, was talking to one of our Locked On guys about this weekend because, of course, I just got back from Baton Rouge. And they don't have a Thanksgiving, right? Heck, they really don't have much of a rival in conference. Now, the sucky part for them, as well as in Alabama, is they're probably going to end up being in the threesome together, specifically because the goal is to make sure that we have good games. And I know ESPN probably put a provision in there of, hey, we don't want too many cupcakes for these top teams. Let the cupcakes play against each other. We don't care about those games. We want marquees. We want Bama LSU on a regular. We want some Oklahoma, Alabama on a consistent basis. We want Oklahoma, Florida. So there's those type of marquee games that's going to be wanted, and we're going to create some rivalries on top of what exists. So, but for me, the 3 I was hoping, the 3 I want Texas. Just we already know why. No need to explain anymore. We keep talking about till we're blue in the face. Texas. I would prefer Arkansas, specifically because it's a 2-hour drive from Tulsa, roughly. Well, hour 45. I've driven to Fayetteville numerous times from Tulsa back in the day. Buddy of mine did news out there in Fayetteville. We made the run there. I want that. I also want LSU as well, because that could be a great Thanksgiving game. Now, I know a lot of people are here in the comment section saying they want to see, Bedlam come back. Cool. But because as we go down the list of this, Sankey also made mention that, not this one, but this is what Papa said. Paul said that we've got to play against another team, additional power opponent, which we have to play at least one more team in the Power Four, which we already do that. That's not something that's not done before. Can we do like an SEC Big Ten challenge or something? Can we create automatic rivalries between the SEC and the Big Ten and then just go line by line of people? Let's bring back OU Nebraska. I would love to play Nebraska at night. That would be so much fun. But if I was to pick my three, though, Coop, I would definitely want Arkansas, LSU, and Texas. And the LSU, I add that because just like, it's been mentioned by most people, we don't have a Thanksgiving opponent. Now we have LSU back-to-back years on Thanksgiving. I think that'd be fun. That would be a fun trip for us to make the trip down there to Baton Rouge and be able to go to that game. That would be a good time for I know a lot of fans. It's a long weekend, too, and it's a 9-hour drive, so it's perfect. You go, you take the drive, you're off, you do Thanksgiving things, you drive on Friday, you get the game, you come back on Sunday. That would be a good time. That would be a good road trip. And it's an extended weekend. So unless you plan on Black Friday shopping, which everybody does it online nowadays, that to me would be the fun one. What do I think it's going to be? It's probably going to be most likely us. It's going to probably be Texas, Missouri, and I have a feeling that they're going to make us go cross country and go to Florida. I don't think they're going to give us a close opponent. I know that's been talked about numerous times. That was in
like Ross Dellinger had that out there.
Yeah, I think Ross Dellinger was the one that had that out there, and I think and Pat Smith had posted this as well. That this was what the initial idea was when they first talked about going to 9, and this was 2 years ago before Oklahoma came. But these were the teams. Oklahoma's was Florida, Missouri, and Texas. So the anticipation is there's a very good chance that this is going to end up being the final probably setup. I would prefer not to have Missouri. I know some of y'all want to play Missouri every year. I don't care about Missouri enough to want to do that every year. But because me personally, this guy would prefer to just have Arkansas right next door because it's a quick drive. Create something new.
And I would say this, I'm all for Florida. I think that, we have recruited Florida super heavily for years. There's not been any change depending on the, who's in charge of the program, whether it was Stoops, whether it was Lincoln, whether it's BV. We have a lot of folks down in Florida. You continue to build that IMG pipeline, and you're going to have that. This is all, a lot of what's going to go in here is having to do with TV revenue. Mm-hmm. This is easier for you 100%. To sell to the Geicos, to the Allstates, to Dr. Pepper. This is the easiest portion of it, is you want to be able to have those marquee matchups. And no shade to either program, but I can promise you this, Oklahoma versus Florida, regardless of the record the previous year, where they're at the current year, is much easier to sell than Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, or Mississippi State, South Carolina. Like, it just is what it is, and that's going to be the eyeballs on the TV. People want to hate watch. That's a big reason why Texas is always a great TV prospect, is because that there's going to be hype around the program. That there's going to have eyeballs across the country. That they're going to get the hate watch also, and those are going to be the things that drive people this way. This is about TV. It's about the dollars because coming from a TV background, still in a media background, you need big storylines. You need things to happen. You need people's reactions, and it's just tough because that's one of the bigger reasons is if you go to the 9 games, it's easier to sell a Mississippi State versus Texas A&M than a Texas A&M, the Citadel, or Mississippi State, Kentucky Wesleyan. It just is. It absolutely is going to be better. And, I just being honest with you, man, when you have these storylines and you have these things that you can bring up, you need layers and layers and layers, because if this stuff is going to be every single year, you need an establishment of this. It is Oklahoma coming from the Midwest, making their way out to Florida making their way back over here. Hell, Jay, like if you said, seeing a Big Ten challenge, there's already starting to hear people talking about the folks in Ann Arbor who've been maxing and relaxing with 79, 81 degree temperatures coming down to Norman second week of September, and, with a potential forecast in the mid 90s. Like, that's a storyline that you can talk about. It's two-story traditional programs that you can talk about, and that's what they need to be able to sell. You got to have the eyes on it, not just the fans. And it's not the same thing as the NBA, Indiana versus Oklahoma City, to where you're talking big markets. But it's really dang close. Like, that's why they want a Knicks in there. That's why they want a Lakers in there. They want the bigger markets, and because it brings a lot of the hate watch. Nobody goes in and watches Vanderbilt because they hate Vanderbilt. Nobody goes in and watches, necessarily Tennessee because they hate Tennessee. But when you get a blue blood in there, folks want to be able to watch it to see what's going to happen, and then also watch it to see the hate. I remember way back in the day when, and I think that we're going to be in this spot again, Jay, to where you're watching games that have nothing to do with the SEC or Oklahoma, or nothing to do with Texas for Benji here. But I remember watching who was dadgummit, Atlanta Falcons quarterback gave up the big lead to Tennessee. Goodness gracious. Boston College was playing against Miami. I think it might have been Matt Ryan. So a Thursday night game, and we needed Miami to lose in order to get our bump in, to be, higher in the rankings for the BCS. And I remember watching Boston College have a lead into the third quarter and just continue to put pressure on Miami. And then Miami makes the run back. Why am I watching on a Thursday night in the, early fourth quarter, watching Boston College, Miami? Because I was hate watching. And that's what they need.
That's where the ratings come in. Being able to hate watch and having a game that matters late in the season that really has implications towards something of importance. So, yeah, that's where that OU LSU real conversation is coming, because we know LSU for the most part is going to be consistently up. They're going to have their down a couple of years here and there. They're going to fire a coach for doing something inappropriate. They're going to bring in somebody else really good. They're going to have another lightning rod set of seasons. They're going to randomly win a national championship, and then they're going to go right back down. It's the perfect cycle. That's what LSU has done for us consistently since 2000. That's just how they've rolled. And we would like for that to matter, that last game to matter for us as well. I mean, Bedlam was great because it mattered in the 2000s, in the 25 years. There may have only been, 5 losses or something like that in that time, 6 losses, but there were games that were kind of important. They matter. And then the wins that Oklahoma got in a lot of situations were games that mattered for Oklahoma State. So that's fun, and that's what the drama they want to create. That's what they want to replicate. The only way we're going to get to that is if we have good opponents. But I'm gonna be honest, man. I get the Florida. It's like to me, Texas. They've only got Arkansas, Oklahoma, and A&M. They don't have to go very far. Florida will have to travel. LSU would have somewhat of travel, I guess you could say. But that 9-hour drive to me to Baton Rouge would be so much better than going 14, 15 hours over to Gainesville. Heck, give us Tennessee. Shoot. But Tennessee should have 3. I mean, was that Bama, of course, Vanderbilt. I don't understand why they don't do Kentucky, but I guess why.
It's because Georgia got Kentucky. How would you like to be Kentucky? You're just like, every year, huh? All right, this is awesome.
This is what we get. But hey, Kentucky's infamous for being very physical. They just aren't very good on a consistent basis. So, but yeah, we'll take it. So I see y'all are going off in the comments section. Yeah, I know our boy Benji getting piled on. Don't pile on him. It ain't his fault in this capacity. They actually have specific regional quote unquote rivalries that make sense. So I get the Arkansas, and of course A&M and us. There's two hate, but I totally understand why they would do Arkansas because if I'm correct, they played that neutral site when they used to play. That was at Jerry Circus too, or something. I know A&M plays Arkansas at Jerry Circus. I don't know about Texas, but I know that was something back in the Southwestern Conference era.
Yeah, and there's a deep Big 12 Jamar Toombs love in my heart to where I would love to see it be Oklahoma, Missouri, Texas, and Texas A&M just getting back in there. Now I know that the folks down in College Station want nothing to do with that today, tomorrow, or yesterday, but there is a little part of my heart that wants to see that. But at the same time, I mean, we're now in a spot to where you can afford these things. This is why these conversations are being brought up, is because you can afford a loss. You don't want to take, you don't want for a single loss to just bounce you. I mean, think of last year without any health injuries or health issues, and maybe this is a team that is growing, and you want to be able to say, hey, listen, if we take a loss early in the year, it's not completely just tossing the year away to where, we're playing for, some, just higher low level bowl or whatever. You need some of the, some of the growth options at times too. But, with the new playoff system, and I just have a very distinct feeling that because it is about the money and it's going to be easier to sell a bigger playoff, more teams being able to be in there. If the NCAA has anything to do with it, the only reason why they have any clouts or any type of headlines anymore anyway, outside of when they look dumb, is the basketball tournament. And so if you can take that same type of approach, get more teams in there, but at the same time, like this year being as wide open as it is, I feel like it's pretty laughable if you said, hey, listen, I think this team currently ranked number 32 in the country has a legit shot at winning the national championship game. Like, it just isn't there.
It isn't, but for us, it's going to be interesting to see. All right, thank y'all for pulling up. Hit that like button if you are new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review, give us 5. As a lot of you are saying here in the comments, LSU would just be fun. It would be fun to have that Thanksgiving tradition of traveling there on Black Friday. Nobody's going to do their shopping. They're going to do it. They're going to do it before, or they're going to order it online and have it come to the crib. They don't need to get out there.
A lot of the ladies like to get away from all the football and get out there and go even do your group therapy sessions and while the gents are back at home watching football for the most case. But yeah, no, it's having that game at the end of November, having something to look forward to. There's a lot of families that probably have ties to Louisiana and Oklahoma, and that's why Nebraska was so big for so long, because it's something that you knew every single year it was going to be right around there. That's why everybody threw a fit when they moved Bedlam up in the middle of the season a couple years back, is because, hey, listen, you're messing with tradition, and as tradition becomes more and more sparse in college football, people are going to grasp on to whatever there is left.
Exactly. All right, man, Coop, it's game week. We are here.
It is.
We have officially hit the week of the game. We have Illinois State. We'll do a final preview of them on Wednesday's show. So we'll talk, about everything. But the biggest thing for us now is depth charts.
Yeah.
Depth charts should be coming out on Tuesday, if I'm correct. BV has his presser on Tuesday. The expectation is we'll get our depth charts and understanding of who's going to be where. Who do you think would be a surprise on the depth chart on the offensive side that will throw fans off?
Jaren Kanak as the number 1 tight end.
Interesting. Why do you believe he could accidentally or not accidentally fall into that spot?
I think that in a game like this, nobody knows what's coming. Michigan has no idea what's coming. Auburn doesn't know what's coming. There's a lot of what is this going to look like? And I think that you're going to see a lot of gamesmanship with how things are played. I think that Ben Arbuckle's probably going to have a situation where he's bringing a lot of looks and he's bringing a lot of plays, in this first week, to where you want to find out, like, what are your staples? What are something that you can call if you need 5 yards? How do you get it without any type of bump, and you just feel super comfortable about it? In a live action, the other team has no idea what's coming. What can we do? And I think that there's also going to be putting some stuff on film. You want to see, what does it look like to get Kanik out in the flat? What does it look like to have him staying in, chipping, blocking, looking like he's doing some work on that side, and then sliding him out and giving him ball? Because I think that you want that on film. And so I think that we're going to see some of that stuff. You may see more running plays where you've got some of the other guys in there, but I expect to maybe see Kanik as a fixture, and maybe getting that first run. This is a guy who has been extremely, committed to the program. This is a guy who a lot of fans love. He knows how to get the look. And Jay, I kind of want to see him brandish the weenie dog in the end zone, like Gabe and Teddy were talking about too. And I don't know how you do that without getting yourself a penalty. Maybe it's towards the end of the game, but I think Kanik being out there would be a big, like, oh really?
Interesting. Now, so let me preface this real quick, as I see a lot of people pointing certain things out. I want y'all to keep in mind, I'm not talking about opening week. I'm talking about Michigan. And I say that because we know everybody named Mama playing in the Illinois State game. And I say that because, let's just put it this way. Iowa beat them 40-0 last year. Cade McIntyre was the starting quarterback. We'll just leave it at that. The same team, because they've returned just about everybody in from their 10-3 team. So, but I digress. I'm asking, going after that, which means that Michigan, you think there's a possibility that Kanik could be the starting tight end in that game.
Yeah, I do. And I think across this team, I think the first depth chart's going to have a bunch of oars, like we have all been accustomed to seeing, but I think it could be even bigger than these first couple weeks, because I think with this snap counts, the snap count, factor in for Oklahoma this year, there are going to be people who are walking out there because you got to name 22 starters, right? So you're going to have the starters, you're going to have guys that their names out there, but it's all going to be about the snap count. I think that early in the season, you're going to see some of that. I think that you want to maybe put some of that Kanik stuff on the film. And, if people are going to be watching him, that means they can't double somebody else. That means that they're not going to have a lot of focus on what's happening back behind. They're going to stick out that. You're not going to be able to let the linebackers or the safeties cheat and, really start bracketing wide receivers. I think that's going to be something that Ben Arbuckle wants. Is he wants each receiver to have a lot of one-on-one opportunities, and the running back out of the backfield and Kanik leaking out. I think those are two things that can really, really help that situation out.
That'd be interesting to see where Kanik really plays. Like, what is going to be his actual role in the offense? I am very intrigued by that. For me, on the offensive side, I've actually seen some people say one thing that I thought would be interesting is not only Michael Fasusi, but where Torrey Blaylock comes in, so true freshman, possibly even Elijah Thomas. I talked about this before, but I think what would be surprising, what would be not surprising, but something that I think would be a very intriguing setup is to have both Deion Burks and Isaiah Satania on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
I've been thinking about that for a few weeks, and I've seen somebody else put that in their opening depth chart as well. That, to me, feels like that's a very large possibility. Those two with either a Keontez Lewis or a Zion Kearney. Because you would typically think traditionally you'd have Keontez, Kearney, Burks, bring in Satania, blah, blah, blah. But Satania has been so much of a problem in a good way in practice that, yeah, it wouldn't make so much sense for him to actually end up being on the field with Burks. But then to
Yeah.
me, the question is who's out on the outside and who's running the slot? Which one of those two would you have be the slot guy? That's where I'm now. My brain is trying to figure out, okay, which would make the most sense?
It's, you know what? This is every single time this realization hits me, it is a breath of fresh air, and it literally, I mean, that's why I just kind of chuckled out loud. Is you actually have an offensive coordinator who is running a play for right now, but also setting things up for the future.
Yep.
That is now another thing that you can highlight in Norman once again. And you know, I hate to do this now because it's going to rile the chat up, but I mean, when you got a guy like Steve Sarkisian who calls plays with intent, he has done a very, very good job at that, of, you know, getting guys into the getting guys into a flow, getting guys into some patterns, and then breaking the pattern and having somebody running wide open. Like, I think that's one thing that we can be really excited about seeing this year is if you do have a Satania and a Deion Burks at the same time. Like, the more pocket time that Mateer will have, that means you've got these two guys who are extremely fast and dangerous with the ball in their hands. If you can have both of those guys running around for a little bit longer, you can set some stuff up. What that allows guys on the outside to do, or maybe a seam, somebody running up the seam like a Canic or a Blaylock or an Ott, or even when the outside receivers, is when all that action's happening right in the middle of the field, you can all of a sudden set up for somebody having a one-on-one down the sideline. And that's what I'm most excited about getting to see this year, is having a situation where you can actually throw the ball downfield with intent. Because last year, that wasn't around. That wasn't capable. Everybody said, we're not scared of anything you're doing here, and we're gonna play you guys within 25 yards of the line of scrimmage. If you get us deep, kudos. And what was it? 2 times, maybe two passes all year long, maybe 3 or 4, where
like
you
that.
got more than 20 yards in the air. So there's going to be some fun out there this year with setting up plays. But I think that having Satania and Burks in the middle, and both of those guys being able to run something like a slant into a seam route, or breaking off a route, I mean, it's going to be pretty dirty.
Yeah, it really is. Oh man, we're gonna have ourselves a good time there, Coop. I'm pretty excited to see what that looks like. All right, defensive side of the ball. Who is someone that you believe would be a surprise ending up on the depth chart early? Like I said, Michigan more so than anything in comparison. We know we're gonna have some mixtures at corner. I'm sensing we're probably going to end up playing potentially a freshman, but I think that could be a shocker. But what's a shocker you have over there?
It's got to be Guillory. I think Cortland is a guy who is an extremely talented corner. I think that he has the attitude that most of the corners have, that they're going to have a short memory. But I also think that he's got a lot of thump to him too. Yeah, and so where I expect, guys, the continuation of rotation in the defensive backside, not just the corners, but also the safeties. Like, Cortland has received a lot of praise. Now, we've heard these things before in the past. I think there was a few years back, we had a freshman that everybody was saying, hey, don't be surprised if he starts. He gets hurt right before game week, ends up transferring out of the program, but that was something that was being talked about. And so I think Cortland is going to be a guy that great cover corner. You can leave him out on an island. You can trust that, if the safeties are coming up in run coverage, especially against a team like Michigan, you want to be able to say, hey, that's your man, you got this, and then he just looks at you with nothing but business intent.
Yeah, no, that's true. Guillory's interesting, but we expect that. Like I said, with Eli being down, we expect another corner to step up with our guy.
Gentry.
With our guy Gentry Williams over there, and we expect him to be healthy. Thinking more so, I think what will be surprising is, I got two of them. One, that instead of Guillory playing, that you see either a Jordan or a Newcomb. Like, Newcomb intrigues me because he's a stocky. He's like Eli, shorter, but he's feisty. He fights, good hops, good eye for the ball. But I think he will be surprising to a lot of us if he ends up being the one that gets that spot initially, and then they work Guillory in over time because he's young. Now, one that would really intrigue me too, though, is, think about this one, Coop. What if they found a way to get Kendall Daniels, Kendall Dolby, and Reggie Powers all on the field at the same time? Imagine that setup. That to me would be a big surprise because I know that they want to play all three of them.
Yeah.
If possible, in some capacity. But imagine all three of them on the field at the same time. That would be nuts.
Well,
and I could see us figuring that out.
And here's why. All three of those guys have the ability to knock the living shit out of you. Pardon my language.
Yeah,
all those guys also have the capability to play well in coverage. Where Kendall Daniels, where people are going to see a lot of stuff with Kendall Daniels is the fact that when you have an athlete like that guy running around out there and he's got that little bit of burst, if you think that you kind of have an opening, he can shut that space down pretty quickly.
Very quickly.
If the ball is not out in front of the receiver and he is in coverage, he has probably better opportunity to get that ball than the receiver does. I mean, this is a guy that is 6'5". He literally looks like a thinner defensive end out there running around. He can play safety. He can play cheetah. He can play linebacker. He's going to be able to stick around. And with what we expect the defensive line to be like, you're going to have some rush passes to where you can't process every single bit of that, and you haven't seen things like that. So I'm really, really expecting that if you get a situation like Dolby, Powers, and Kendall Daniels out there at the same time, whatever you're not going to try to sub out, right? Like, it's not people, or you're going to be more likely to maybe sub out of that and get something different going on, because it will be one or two situations and where you've got those guys in. Most of the time when guys try to run the hurry up, it's because they don't want you to switch guys out. But if you got a Dolby, who is he playing corner? Is he playing cheetah? Is he playing safety? Is he kind of playing a small linebacker? Same with Daniels. And then Powers, the same situation. Each one of those guys can do well in coverage, can disrupt coverage, and then at the same time, they're going to be physical with the wide receiver. But then if you run the ball, they can get down in a hurry really quickly and thump on you.
That's exactly it. And I could totally see. Oh, man. I don't know how they would get Boganowski out there early. You're not, and as much as I love Baba Yaga, he's going to get there. I think next season, his year. Spears Jennings is definitely going to be that dude. So, but those three are going to be on the field together, to me, a lot next season. Let me ask you this. Think Peyton Bowen comes back next year?
I know why you're asking me this, and I know that this goes into a lot of our conversations.
Yeah, but we don't need to go that far into it, but more so,
yeah,
he'll be eligible at the end of the season. I think he ends up playing college football.
I think Peyton Bowen's going to give us a contract year type of a situation this year. If he's healthy, it all begins with that. How do you stay healthy?
Fair.
Because if you're playing a football game and you see a guy that's got one of the injury tags on it, when you're playing on the old PlayStation or whatever, some of those capabilities go down. And I would just say this is I think Peyton Bowen's going to play. He came on after, dealing with his little mini injury at the beginning of fall camp. He's came back. He's played with intent. He's played with passion. And, he is still a guy that when you look at the star rating and the star status, he hasn't given us 5-star years yet. He's given us 5-star plays here and there, but no 5-star years. And so I think it's a situation where if he puts on a good amount of game film and he gets a high draft status, he's out. I think that if it's somewhere in the middle and maybe they question the injury history, maybe there's a situation where he says, hey guys, I'm willing to stay in college football for one more year. Who needs a safety? And then it's going to be a situation to where maybe he is he hits the transfer portal or has those conversations. So it's going to depend on how can he stay on the field. If he plays in the 600 snaps and they're high quality snaps and he has a lot of major impact on the game, I think that he's going to be a guy who's going to have every option out in front of him.
No, I agree with you there. For me, it's you're going to see a backlog in the safety room at some point. And he's now the old dude in the room. Like we see with Robert Spears-Jennings now, the trio that we recruited, we're very high on with Hardy, Boganowski, and Powers. Spears-Jennings is gone. Peyton's the only one left. Then you still have the trio. How do you rotate those three around? Because I'm Powers is going to end up being your quote unquote full-time cheetah at some point. He's just that versatile. Hardy is really good at playmaking at the free safety spot or even at strong. You can put him at both. So that's to me where the question comes in. What does that look like for Peyton making a return next year? Unless he has a massive year this year, then yeah, he's gone. That's he's gonna probably take an opportunity to get drafted because he should be able to. But for me, it's what does it look like if he comes back type deal. That's more so what I was thinking. Good stuff. Thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate us, review us, give us 5 stars. We had football this weekend, Coop. You watch some games?
Did watch the games.
Okay,
and
go ahead.
What'd
you do?
Here's the thing: is I'm daughter plays soccer. I'm a big Arsenal guy, and I had a lot of stuff to watch, and so played. I watched. I tried to stay off my phone while the kids playing soccer. Didn't want to go back and look at any of those things. And so as soon as I got back home, it was towards the end of the game for the Iowa State one. So I rewound the game. I started from the beginning. Watched it. Like I said, being an Irish guy, being that is a really really exciting. That's a really really exciting opportunity for a lot of kids. More so on the getting overseas. It was crazy because you saw with the big plays came. And it did not matter. I think that the wide open Brandley catch as soon as Iowa State went up 10, Kansas State throws that 65-yard bomb. He's uncovered. It was amazing to hear the excitement in the crowd. Those Irish folks, and so watch that game. Extremely extremely exciting. Hey, Iowa State. Can we? The next thing I want to see in college football is trades. Because maybe we could send a safety to Iowa State for one of them tight ends because
they got like 40 of them.
It's like every single dude is a tight end. Same with Kansas. And Kansas, I think, was missing a couple of dudes. So I think Lincoln Cure was out, right? So he was out. But you had Cooper Alexander out there. I'm sorry for any PTSD, but it was great to see that. Now, you saw some things where, I'm not exactly sure how it is to play that game. It's not a vacation like a bowl game. You got to get over, get your reps in, play the game, get on the plane, get back because they got another game on Saturday this week. Yep. And so it's not like a bowl game where you can take some time and, roll around the island. but you saw some rust out there. Edwards with the big fumble on the punt early. A lot of fourth down stops. You saw a lot of guys. I think the one where they ran it on fourth down, and it looked like it was wide open, and he gets stonewalled. You saw some interceptions. You saw a lot of fumbles. So you saw some rust in there, and you're going to see that in the early season. And I mean, it was still good though to be able to watch, a quality, two ranked teams. There was a lot of conversation about how it plays out through the rest of the year as far as conference standings and stuff.
Yeah, for them it was they're playing not only overseas in the weird weather.
Yeah, in the good old proper English
gross.
weather.
It was gross. It was very, very gross weather, and you kind of feel bad for them. It was gross weather, but that's what we got. You got them overseas, gross weather. The time was probably still weird for them. Only a few days of trying to be quote unquote adjusted to the time and everything, but that's what happens the first week of college football. I think it cracks me up the most that we really love the essence of college football, that regardless of how good the teams are, there's going to be a bunch of mistakes. It's like everybody's favorite part about college football. Like, it's the funniest thing in the world. And you would think that everybody's like, nope, I want it to be the best possible. And it's like, nah, we don't care. That's not what we're here for. We're here for, we don't mind if it's bad. We accept it.
And I'd rather deal with a little mistake here, mistake there than a massive drama debate between the third and fourth string quarterbacks on maybe one of the worst teams in the NFL. Like, there are a lot more passionate capabilities in college football. And I heard somebody mentioning, one of the bigger talking heads talking about, will this be a very entertaining game for people across the pond, because it's university and it's not professional, but at the same time it's like those kids out there playing in that game, that was more than if you're going to go watch an NFL Europe game. You're going to see more talent between Iowa State and Kansas State, and better
Fair
football
point.
as a product than checking out one of the world leagues or the UFL or something like that.
Yeah, and you're also going to get for them, this is good exposure for bringing over, like, who was that? Hawaii's kicker. Learned how to kick field goals on YouTube, and now he's a kicker at Hawaii, which was pretty interesting. But when I saw his size, though, he's like 6'2", 200 pounds. I'm like, good God, he's kind of a safety size. Is he not physical?
A little Sebastian Janikowski action there.
Right? Is he not interested in, like, running through somebody's face? May not be. I don't judge. Not everybody's really built to go run through a man's face. But I thought that was interesting that their kicker literally is learn how to play on YouTube.
Yeah. And hey, listen, that's who you're going to field at University of Hawaii. And I will say, I had a little nostalgia watching Andrew Luck walk out in some of the pregame stuff, walking around like
captain.
Man, does that not, like, that's still, like the walkaways by Barry Sanders, the walkaways by by Megatron, those things are pretty big. But just to think about how Andrew Luck was kind of at the top of the world and walked away from football, the guy's smarter than most. He has, a great parentage, and he's got a lot of business savvy to him. Being a Stanford guy, like you're going to have a lot of that too. But man, just seeing him walk around, it looked like, I'd rather go see Andrew Luck taking snaps for my team over to Aaron Rodgers right now.
Yeah, no, and it was fascinating to, see him going around. I totally understood it too, right? Like, for him, it was, I'm tired of being hurt.
Yeah.
Like, I'm literally constantly rehabbing every single month, every single year for years upon years.
Yeah.
I mean, dudes running around with a lacerated kidney, pee and blood. That's not fun. Going through rehab all the time is not fun. Like, that kind of takes away the joy of playing. He just, unfortunately, played a position where he was getting his, block knocked off on a regular basis. But I did think that was funny that he was, that's what he was talking about of, he's like, I just had to. I needed to stop. But now you get to see him walking around there running things at Stanford. That's so fascinating and so cool to see the return of the captain. I saw that account is back too. We got that Twitter account running things again. We were missing the captain Andrew Luck, dearest mother stuff. We got that back.
I would have to say also on the college football of the world, Kansas's new stadium looks pretty nice, and they got a healthy Daniels. And
oh boy! Hey, look.
When you got a healthy Daniels, the world is your oyster. So as of right now, dude looked good, and man, I as much as I love Kurt Warner, I mean, like, let's let the kiddo do something, in big boy football before we start having those conversations. EJ did not look like dad out there.
No. And to me, I was like, I think the biggest thing for me on the conversation around Daniels was, are we going to get him healthy for the full year? Because he was taking some hits. I forgot who tweeted that out. I was like, yeah, he needs to stop taking them shots. He's taking a lot more body shots than I like. I'm not fond of that.
They were running that QB power sweep, with the RPO option. And if he ran, he got drilled. And then if he threw, he was still getting drilled because he was pulling it out at the very last second. But again, it's, it feels like, speaking out of both sides of my mouth, it feels like 10 years ago, but it also feels like 10 days ago. Dude's walking around Big 12 media days with, what do you have, like an Apple Watch around his neck, running his own highlights. If he stays healthy, they really give them a big thing. But I think the dude's also pressing 22, 23 years old now. And, for somebody who has had lots of injuries, I mean, he's had a lot of back issues. He's had a lot of leg issues. And, I mean, if you're a team in the NFL, like, you're watching him and you're like, that would be great, but dude's already spent more time on the training table than most should.
Yeah, and I love him on that, but he ain't NFL bound. There's no shade. It's
no,
my boy. You health. We're afraid of you falling apart. So I think that he's playing because he's just love of the game type deal. It's gonna be like you said, it'll be tough. He would have to really show them that he can make it into a full season. I don't know what that looks like, but that's gonna be the question. Can he play a full season?
And teams are going to test it out. I promise you. Aranda's going to tell guys, listen, you get a hit on them, you get a hit on them. They're going to test out that physicality because, you're not going to have guys pulling up because out of respect for like stardom or something like that. And, the quarterbacks in college football, even though they are protected quite a bit, it's not the same as the NFL to where you're protecting, the stars of the league. You fall down at his legs a couple times, and I would like to say, yeah, he got it right. Like the 18th, that's why Jason White wore 18. But he's going to, I mean, if he gives you 10 games, I think that's a win as a program.
That's so funny that he says that because that's exactly what it is. It's he's on his Jason White eligibility, and I like that he's taking advantage of it. But yeah, I don't know if he has to stay upright. That's going to be the most critical part. But they looked really good. The offense looked like it was running well. It's funny. Speaking of the fans were losing their minds on Matt Wells, Kansas State, this weekend. I mean, can we actually blame Wells though? Is what I'm trying to figure out.
I mean, Brantley goes for that 65-yarder, and that made the game look a little bit closer than it was. Mm-hmm. I think that some gamesmanship, at the end of the game. I guess, did you hear that they were screaming at old boy to go ahead and punch the ball in, on that last touchdown for Iowa State. But I mean, at the same time, I just got to say it did not look great for Kansas State. And I know that in our Discord, we've got our picks. And somebody went for 5 for 5 this week. I'll have to look to see who that was that picked
who
all
did
5
that?
correctly. I can't remember.
Who thinks
Maybe
that they're that good? Yeah.
I don't know. Navy wasn't in it, so that's why I went 5 for 5 because they're the ones who doomed me last year. But
that was you. That was you.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
it's all right. I was waiting for you to admit that it was you.
But I would say, yeah, Rocco Becht. I mean, that is a guy who is going to, he's going to be a determining factor of what happens in the Big 12 this year. Campbell also. Good to see him losing his ever-loving mind on the sideline as early as like the second drive of the game. I mean, that's why we love college football. You love seeing that.
Football's back. Yeah, him losing his mind like that. Yeah, it felt like we're
second
back.
Drive of the game. He is besides himself, just absolutely just losing it, and that was hilarious to see.
Oh God, that just warms my heart. Just the thought that we're so back. Coop, we're so back. College football is here. It was fun watching the games and just being able to sit there and see. I was watching. I'm not even gonna repeat the joke, but the fighting Dan Mullins and how everybody's like, yeah, is this gonna work? Is that gonna go? I mean, it was his first game coaching. Literally, it feels like last chance you. Like he had basically all the leftovers from every school of kids that we thought were going to just be elite players. And they literally just... It did not look good. It looked very ugly against... I don't say... It reminded me of... I went years ago with a buddy of mine. We were in Vegas for... I think it was was it Labor Day weekend? I think it was Labor Day weekend. And yeah, it was, because that was when that was week one, actual week one, right? So we went Labor Day weekend, and we went and watched. We was in Vegas. We were getting some bets in, watching the games there, and we went to the UNLV game that they had at their home stadium. And that game they played against Howard. Little did we know, starting quarterback was Cam Newton's little brother. And he went out there, and there was only no sports book in Nevada gave the option to play the money line on that game, but you could find it on some online sports books. And it was like plus 40 something thousand because the spread was like 45. Minus 45 UNLV. And UNLV lost that game. They lost that game. We're sitting there in the stands watching this like they're not about to lose this game, are they? They're about to lose this game. Like, wait, are they really about to lose this game? They're going to lose this game. And they lost the game. That 2017, wildest thing, 43-40, 45-point dogs. Cam Newton's little brother roasted them boys. It was like 600-1 odds in some spots. It was ridiculous. That they did that. But yeah, Kalen Newton, that was his name. Kalen, I was trying to find his name. Kalen Newton was the quarterback. Cooked them boys. Bananas. And then I'm watching this Idaho State game, Coop, and I'm like, please don't tell me this is gonna happen again.
It's about to.
Please don't tell me this is about to happen again. Don't tell me it's about to happen again.
I looked up that score, and I was like, well, I guess I'm not going 5 for 5 because they're about to lose this. And UNLV kind of reminds me of, what was it, about 10 years ago, Arkansas State, up there in Jonesboro, Arkansas. They were kind of doing the same thing, taking all the kids who had been through 3 or 4 different programs, got into legal issues, got into other issues, and they were taking all those guys. And if you had a dude who got kicked off of your team, he was going to end out there. And so yeah, looks like it's UNLV. Maybe that's going to be entertaining. It's going to be some of the best football in spurts, and it's going to be some of the most selfish, undisciplined football in spurts. And so it might be a ticket that you want to might be a ticket you want to pull up on every so often if you got nothing else to watch. Go watch that because, I mean, I'll tell you this: if Dan Mullen puts them in a bowl, somebody's going to take a crack at him, and somebody's going to be willing to have that talk and that conversation. And you know that he wants to get back in and prove that he is who he thought he was. Because I mean, that game against Florida, against OU, I mean, that's the last time that he really had any clout, and he's been quiet since then.
Quiet. But you're right. If he's able to get them to a bowl game.
Arkham Asylum. Zayas, you got it right. UNLV equals Arkham Asylum. It is like the...
fair point. Very fair point.
The Suicide Squad out there on the green.
Amanda Waller's walking in there as Dan Mullen. Say, hey, I'm trying to put together a team. But I got to put a chip in the back of your head to make sure that you don't, yeah.
Yeah, you're getting popped if you go. So who's going to be the first? Listen, here's the thing: is what's the who has the most arrests this year? University of Georgia or UNLV? Because right now, I still say leader in the clubhouse is going to be Georgia.
I don't know. I don't even see it. Oh, that's funny. That's funny. I mean, heck, they had arrests over there in Ireland, though. You had parents fighting their kids and then putting out statements to apologize. Like, what are we doing?
Avery's the starting quarterback. How would you like to be that? It's, I talked to a guy who was pretty close, and I'm not talking about any other OU content folks, but talked to guys pretty close to the Pacers, through the company, and he was saying how embarrassing it was to answer the questions about Pops going on the court and yelling in Giannis's face, and he was just like, it takes away a lot from Tyrese Halliburton and the stuff that was going on, and it's just embarrassing as a program. But yeah, I mean, you got to think that there's probably conversations being had that nobody wants to have. Is, hey, Mr. Johnson, don't know if we want you on campus here for our first game of the season.
We're gonna have some we'll have some visitors out there. I saw a question in here around recruiting. Ain't nothing new about recruiting. Ain't nothing new going on at all. And Lloyd, there's nothing new in recruiting. There's gonna be a lot of visitors in the next set of games. We'll talk about those later this week.
The Blake comment, the second to last one here.
Yep.
Yeah, Jackson Arnold at UNLV starting quarterback next year.
That would be hilarious, and I would honestly,
Either that or Jalen Rashada.
Well, Rashada's at Sacramento State. I don't think he's leaving Sacramento State. I think he's at his home. He's got Marion's go offense. He ain't going nowhere. I don't think. Put it this way. I don't think he would survive in Dan Mullen's system at UNLV. But again, like you said, if he takes him to a bowl game, there's a good chance he ain't even there next year.
Yeah, but that would be pretty fun. That would be pretty fun to watch. Watch that bowl game, especially if UNLV gets to go to somewhere where the kids can get in some trouble.
Yeah, ugh. It's getting a little. Yeah, it's gonna be some. It's gonna be interesting. All right. Yeah, the comment section, y'all having some fun. But hey, first weekend we had some games. I'm excited about. Friday. We have Thursday night. We get Boise State. We get to see if they're gonna bounce back this coming season. We'll highlight some games on the Wednesday episode for the weekend. We'll talk about what we're looking forward to for the weekend. We'll also talk about a little bit of Illinois State and kind of what we expect to see. We'll get our reaction to the depth chart and everything here or whatnot. So pretty excited. It's going to be a fun season. We're going to level it up. We're going to get way more structured, organized, and give you all the great stuff. We'll chop up each one of these videos into smaller portions so y'all can have segments to watch. If you can't see the whole show, you can catch it up in pieces and all of that. So expect a lot of good stuff from me and Coop this season. It's going to be fun. We're going to talk a lot more SEC stuff too. We're going to dive a lot deeper into all the teams in the SEC, the opponents. really want to get more into a lot of that while, of course, being centric around our Sooners. So thank y'all for pulling up. Hit the like button if you're new to the channel. Subscribe, rate, review us, give us 5. And we will chop it up with each and every single one of y'all. What, next day or two? We'll be back Wednesday. I'll have a video out coming tomorrow. Colin Cowherd had one of our good friends on, and I wanted y'all to hear it from his mouth about how good Oklahoma's going to be. So brace yourself for that video. Chop it up soon. Peace.